Hello and welcome to today's introductory video for DaVinci Resolve. Today we're going to be talking about how to initially organize your project files on your computer, which seems like a redundant bit of information, but proper project organization on your computer plays into having a proper organization in DaVinci Resolve. To start out, we are going to be talking about project organization on your computer, file structure, at least how I structure my project files, and then jumping into DaVinci Resolve, a quick overview, and then showing you how I then match the project file structure in DaVinci Resolve and how to get you started on your way to editing, but also editing in DaVinci Resolve. So on my computer, we're going to basically have a project file, and then inside that project file, we're going to create a folder. On my Mac, it is Shift-Command-N, or you can right-click and select New Folder. We are going to name this folder Footage. And inside that folder, depending on how many cameras you use, we're going to use 2 today. So I got Cam A and Cam B. Let's say this is your hard drive that you're pulling your footage from. You would click on that, go into footage, and here I'm using, this is raw files from the Blackmagic camera. That gets moved over, and then we can use, let's say, aerial. Now I would, in theory, instead of footage, I would then create a new folder called aerial and put that in there, but since we only have one camera, I'm going to use this as my second camera. And then you would have a folder called audio if you have a separate audio source. So on top of footage, you have audio, and then on top of that, you have music as an option, and then exports and assets. So this file structure is fairly basic. You have your footage folder, audio folder from a separate audio source if needed, any music you're going to be using for this project, and then once you're done with the project, exports will go into exports so that you know exactly where everything is. And assets, they can be anything from overlays to lower thirds to title animations, anything of that nature can be stored in that folder. That just helps whenever you start your project and you're going to have a mirrored folder structure inside of DaVinci Resolve, exactly like you have here, so that if you're trying to find your files, you know exactly where it's going to be. So now let us open up DaVinci Resolve. And I am currently using DaVinci Resolve 16 for today's tutorial. So here you have your project manager window. And inside of here, you can either click Untitled Project, and that'll create a new project for you, or you can go down here and click on New Project. Also inside this window, you have the option to create a new folder, which if you're working on a project that has multiple videos and multiple timelines that you want to do, this is one way that you can organize that. So let's say temp project, create folder, and then inside that folder, you can then go in and create new projects, and that just helps keep things organized. To get back, you can either click home down here in the bottom, and that takes you back. I'm going to right click and delete that one, don't need it. So let's get started with creating our new project. Double click on that, opens up a new project in DaVinci Resolve. And that's one thing that is different with DaVinci Resolve to editing software like Adobe Premiere or Final Cut, is that your projects aren't necessarily saved in a particular location specific for your project on your computer. It is all centralized to that project manager. And then to get back there, you go up to File and Project Manager. It'll take you back, and you can open up a new project or do what you need to from there. So one interesting thing that I like about DaVinci Resolve is that you have uniquely designed windows or editing spaces for whatever you're trying to do while working in DaVinci Resolve. So if you're in the media dump phase, you can go down to media, you can quickly see all of your files and folders and just in a large view. or you can go to cut, which is like a simplified version of editing. And then there's edit, which is just what you're more typically used to. If you're familiar with working in Adobe Premiere, this is going to be a familiar workspace. And then from there, you got Fusion, which is DaVinci Resolve's version of After Effects. And then you've got your coloring tab, which is a beautiful place to work in. And I'm excited to get there in future tutorials. After color, you have Fairlight, which is their audio mastering tab. And then from there, you have Deliver. So it's beautifully designed in your project workflow, from cut to then any effects you want to do, color, sound design, and then to final delivery. And they're all self-contained in those tabs, and that just reorganizes your entire workspace for whatever you're trying to do. So I usually work in Edit. It has a similar no clips and media pool as in the Media tab. You can see down here, no clips and media pool. It's just a smaller window. And I don't see the need to work entirely inside of Media unless you're importing a lot of footage and you just need to see a good size workspace. So in here, you hit Shift-Command-N on your Mac keyboard, and that'll create a new folder. So here we're going to title this Footage, as before, and inside of here, we're going to create another bin. So you can see it created a subfolder inside of Footage, and I did that by, with footage selected, right-clicking over in this workspace here, add bin. So if you click on bin, press return, you then can name it Cam A. Click footage again, right click over here on the right side, add bin, and Cam B. So tabbing back out to Finder, My Footage, Cam A, select those files, drag and drop into Cam A, and here it's asking if I have a different frame rate from the current project, and we're going to click yes or change. So that basically is then just changing the project settings to match the footage that we've imported. Select the rest of these. There we go. Then go back to Cam B, select all of those, and drag that into Cam B. So here you go. You've got your footage folder, your Cam A and Cam B all within this hierarchical folder structure, which if you just click on footage, you can see your folders there. And if you click the drop down menu, you can see them there. And clicking on those will then show you what is contained inside. So it's a very easy workflow. So if we collapse footage, we can right click on the left side, create new bin, or shortcut Shift-Command-N, create the rest of our folders. And that will be audio, music, and assets. Now again, these are just the basic folder structure, or the basic files that I almost always have in my projects. If you have anything else that you need incorporated in there, feel free to add that to whatever you're using. This is just a good way to keep track and organized with your project. So going back to out to Finder, we're going to select our audio, drag that in, and there it loads. Go back out. And if I had music, I'd bring that in, or if I had any assets, this is when I'd bring that in as well. From here, you can now create more organization within your project if you desired. If I wanted, let's say, a specific part of the footage is shot inside, I can create a folder that says inside or location name, and then select all of those video files for that particular part of the shoot, drag it in there. And if I was shooting outside or anywhere else, I'd then create more folders down from there just to keep it organized so that while I'm editing the project, I can go back to that folder structure, and if I'm knowing what I'm looking for, go to that folder and I know exactly where to go. As you're getting into your editing, and if you get down towards your color grading and just very processor intensive work, it can start to slow down depending on the speed of your computer. So one way you can do that is go up to File, Project Settings, and from Master Settings, if your project resolution, let's say I was working in a 4K timeline, and it's going really slow, what I could do is then change that to, let's say, 1920 by 1080. It's going to then change the timeline to playback as 1920 by 1080, but it does not affect the quality of your footage. So you can actually edit 4K footage or 6K footage in a timeline that is scaled down to 1920 by 1080, and it'll play back much smoother and much faster without then affecting the quality of your footage. Another thing you can do is if you go back to playback, proxy mode, you can change it to half resolution or quarter resolution, and it'll cut the quality of your footage by half or a quarter on playback, but not in the actual export of your footage. So those are the two ways that you can speed up your timeline in the playback there. So that is the general basic introduction into opening up a project and creating a folder structure in DaVinci Resolve. Look forward to more tutorials to come. Feel free to subscribe and get notified of future tutorials. Thanks for watching.